Hey guys, Marty here. Welcome back to Snappy Videos. Pokemon Go do community days all of the time, usually over one day on the weekend between 2 and 5 p.m. in your local time. And we've got one coming up, and during this community day, we're going to be seeing Charmander. And he's going to appear absolutely everywhere. There are going to be hundreds of them. There's also special research you'll be able to find at different Pokestops, allowing you to catch even more Charmander. For the last few community days, we've seen also a paid research. Now that's not necessarily required, but it does get you even more encounters with the Pokemon for that day. You normally find them in the in-game store, but they're not on there at the time of recording this video. By the time it goes live, it might be there, so definitely check that out if that's something you're interested in. Although you do not need the paid research to enjoy the community day. In saying that, the research is pretty cheap. Here in Australia, I believe it's like 99 cents, so I usually always do get the research. Although, as I said, you don't need it. So, when are we seeing this beautiful fire lizard? Well, he's going to be appearing on Saturday, the 2nd of September, and as I said before, between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. in your local time. There's also a lot of different bonuses we see on community days between the 2 and 5 p.m. Unfortunately for this event, there hasn't been anything announced yet, but the kind of things we will see are stuff like 3 times catch Stardust, 3 times catch XP, or maybe even bonus candies when you catch the Pokemon. That kind of stuff. We've also seen quarter egg hatching time, which is pretty cool, and I spent one community day just constantly walking laps of this park. Hatched so many eggs, caught so many Pokemon. It was not only good for my game, but it was also good for my fitness. I've seen a lot of people online started to complain and just say this community day is going to be a waste of time. So I had to look into this to see why they were complaining so much. The reason they were complaining is because Charmander's already had a couple of days in the spotlight for community days. He's actually had 2 previously. The first time he appeared in a community day was May the 19th in 2018. And this was a special community day for Charmander because this was the debut of shinies for each of his evolutions, as well as himself. This would have been a massive event. And then, bam, what do you know? Fast forward a little bit further into the future, October 17th, 2020, and Charmander gets another community day. So I can kind of see their frustration there. As a player who really enjoys Pokemon as well as the game itself, and all the fun it brings, I honestly don't care if he has a rerun. If I can get out for part of the day, catch a heap of Pokemon, do some research, meet different people in the community, have fun with the family, then I don't even care if it's a Weedle community day every second month. So how should you prepare for Charmander Community Day? So there are 3 main areas I'm personally going to be focusing on over the next couple of days to prepare for this Community Day. Balls, berries, and Pokemon storage. When it comes to Pokeballs, I'd prefer to have between 100 to 200 of each type of ball. So that's Pokeballs, Great Balls, Ultra Balls. Currently, I have a truckload of Pokeballs, which itself is actually fine and I could get by with that. But I really want to make it easy to catch a Charmander so I can move on to the next one to increase my chance of catching a heap of those sweet, sweet shinies. And if I'm stuck with Pokeballs, well, there's a good chance he's going to jump out. So that's why I'd aim for 100 to 200 of each ball, so you can focus on using some Great Balls and Ultra Balls rather than falling back to your Pokeballs. Keep them as a last resort. Berries are great for multiple reasons. However, the main one I'm going to be focusing on for this community day is the Raspberry. This will make it heaps easier to catch Pokemon. Just aim to have as many Raspberries as you can. You're not going to use them on every Pokemon, so it's not like you're going to need hundreds of them. Honestly, if you have at least 50, that would be a good number, but the more, the better. The Peanut Berry is really good for getting extra candy from the Charmander, but isn't really needed for this community day, as there are going to be Charmander everywhere. You're going to have candy coming out of your ears. Although if you are planning to power up a heap of different Charizards, then you may want to get some extra candy, so some peanut berries might be worth it for you. But for the average player, you're not going to need to worry about it. Just catch all the Charmanders, transfer all the ones you don't want, and you'll have candy for days. The last place I would like to focus on is having enough room to store all the Pokemon you catch. You're not going to keep all the Pokemon you catch, unless you are crazy for Charmander. So you're not going to need to have 500 space free. But I personally would recommend having at least 100 space free in your Pokemon storage. It'd suck to have less than that. Imagine Charmander everywhere, everyone's having fun, and you're constantly having to empty out your Pokemon storage. This is not only going to get frustrating, but it's going to bring away from the fun of the day, and less Charmanders you can encounter means less shinies you can catch. Having 100 or more storage free is going to reduce the amount of time you're going to have to stop, click on all your Charmanders and transfer them. Yes, you are still going to have to do it, but it's going to be a lot less frequent. So the more storage you can muster up, the better. But for those of you who haven't paid for extra storage, 100 storage is probably a good target to have. So what are my personal goals for this community day? Well, I didn't actually experience the community days in the past, so I don't have a shiny Charmander yet. So I want to try and get at least 5 shiny Charmanders from this community day. I'd love a Shundo or at least a Hundo, but I'm happy with just some shinies. Oh, and I also want a truckload of candy. I want to be able to power up a couple of Charizards to the top and use them for some of the battles I get into, or just leave them at gyms. So a lot of candy is something I'm going to be chasing. What are your personal goals for Charmander Community Day? Or are you going to skip it all together because you think it's boring like half the internet does? Let's have a chat in the comments below.